Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Absolutely Podcast, the podcast specifically designed to help women defeat diet culture and live their dream healthy lifestyle. Today's episode, I am really excited for because I'm going to be sharing a little bit about my story as it pertains to coming off of hormonal birth control. And I know this is a little bit of a taboo subject slash people just have very strong opinions on this. So I'm just going to be giving my experience and my story around this and some things that maybe I did wrong or I wish I would have done when it came to making the decision to come off of this medication. And there's a lot of different mistruths kind of floating around the internet and things that I've seen on TikTok and stuff that maybe sent me into spirals of kind of being a little bit fearful around this and a lot of fear mongering. But I hope that at least one person finds something helpful from this episode, even if it is just kind of hearing about my experience and how I was able to come off of this virtually symptom free, of course, like knock on wood. I'm not superstitious, but I think it's due to a lot of the things that I did to prep my body for coming off of this medication that really does influence a lot of different things in your body that when I went on it was not really aware of. And so I'm going to be talking a little bit about like what it does, going back to the beginning with my story and stuff. But I'm excited to chat about this today. And I am just about 4.5 months off or 4 months off right now. So probably we'll do another follow-up episode in the next 4 months or so and give some other advice and opinions and other reflection moments. But I'm almost using this as a little bit of a video diary and talking through it in real time because I wish that when I was coming off of it, or just a few years ago when I was contemplating coming off of it, that I could have just listened to a podcast like I'm doing today of a girl just sitting down and being raw, real, honest, open, and vulnerable and all of the things, because I know it can be very frightening and scary and just a lot of unknowns, which life will, of course, present its unknowns. And sometimes you just have to follow your gut and listen to people that you trust and just kind of fall into that deep end. And that's kind of how I felt with this. But a lot of the things that I did do, I feel like set my body up for success. Going to be talking about that today, but first going to kind of recap my week. I honestly don't have a ton of chatty weekly recap here today. I feel like it was kind of, I wouldn't say a boring week, but it was definitely like a grinding work week, which was good. And also a very social week as well. I know I've been talking a lot about like kind of golf side project that I've been doing lately on this podcast, but I have a women's golf group here that I've been doing some like events with and even just like making friends. And I feel like I've been in such a social era of my life, which has been super fun. And I've been able to connect with so many amazing women. So I had a golf event this past weekend. We did it Masters themed. So that was really cute. Everyone wore their green colors. And if you're a fan of golf or you know anything about golf, you know that the Masters weekend is like the biggest weekend of the year when it comes to golfing. So that is what we did over the weekend. And I watched a lot of the Masters. I felt so just pick me girl coded when I was at the gym this week because I was literally watching the Masters on my phone while doing my cardio, and I looked next to me and the man next to me was also doing the same thing. So it made me feel a little bit better. I'm like, okay, I'm not the only one doing this here, but I definitely felt pick me. However, I love watching golf. I think it's so relaxing and good for my nervous system. It's amazing. So that was kind of my golf recap of the week. I played a couple times. That's something that I have noticed, like having a hobby and having something to take me out of my brain and work and all this stuff has been really nice for me, and to do something physical that I'm also able to meet friends and talk to people and also have like that walking and physical element has just been so fun. So if you're in your 20s, I'm not saying you have to get into golf, but get into like some sort of hobby or something that allows you to make friends and stuff. Because for so long I was like, I'll just like make friends at the gym or I'll make friends at church. And of course, like those are great places to make friends and meet people. But I've also found that having like a hobby or something that you enjoy and can also funnel a little bit of time into has been really great for me. Has brought me a lot of peace and also opportunities and stuff, and leaning into that. So that was a fun part of my week. My sister went to Coachella this week, so I've been living vicariously through the Coachella content with her. I unfortunately feel like I've kind of timed out of Coachella. Not timed out. Like I could still go, of course, but I feel like it would take me 5 to 7 business days to recover from an event such as that. So I politely declined. I mean, she didn't invite me, but politely declined my own invitation for myself to Coachella, but was listening to just all of her funny stories and stuff. So excited to get that full recap from her. Recapping that weekend, but her friends came into town since Scottsdale is fairly close to Palm Springs. It's almost easier to just fly into here than it is to fly into Palm Springs. I mean, Palm Springs this time of year is insane with Coachella. So they flew in, we had dinner, and that was a really good highlight, fun highlight of the week, and just had a lot of laughs. Honestly, like my favorite thing to do is to just beat a dead horse slash laugh about the same inside joke over and over and over again. Like if you're someone that can't laugh at an inside joke over and over again until the inside joke is like literally beaten into the ground, I don't want to be friends with you, politely. It's just so funny. I love an inside joke. So we had a lot of inside jokes. It was good catching up with them. And yeah, had a pretty just like busy weekend with all the golf stuff. And now getting into the work week, I am actually going to Mexico tomorrow, which will be super fun, kind of a little quick getaway trip, but that will be good. I love being able to work from wherever, and I'm going to be clocking in for my client check-ins in the morning and then doing a little relaxing the rest of the day / working on my phone and stuff. It'll be good to have a little bit of a change of scenery. This year has just been flying by. I cannot believe it's already April. Like where has the time gone? I don't know. But that will be kind of a good little reset moment for me. So today I'm just kind of like a little bit chaotic energy just because I have to travel tomorrow, gotta take Archie to daycare, pack, I do all the things. And usually I'm pretty on top of doing those things before it's too late. Like I'm usually like a 2-day prior to leaving kind of girl when it comes to packing. But this time around, for some reason, I'm just living life on the edge. And I decided that I'm going to pack the night before. So it's good. I've been there many times. So I'm like, I'm going to be okay. I know what to pack. But for some reason, like packing for me, I like to be very conscientious when it comes to packing like a couple days before. Don't worry though, I already had a dream that I forgot my passport. So let's get into today's episode without further ado, or else I'm going to chat your ear off and talk you to more about my dreams and stuff. Let's talk about coming off of birth control, why I did, and how you can prep your body / just learn from some of my mistakes. So let's kind of take it back to the beginning. I know I've chatted about this a little bit in my gut health and kind of hormone health episodes and stuff, but just want to kind of give you a little bit of backstory here. So why I got on it around 7 years ago because I was having extremely painful periods, and I would literally get up in the middle of the night and actually faint. Like they were so painful. And now looking back on it, I definitely was not eating enough food. This was also the period of time that I was severely under eating and not eating enough food at all. I was doing a lot of HIIT training workouts, probably had some inflammation. I was very stressed. I was in college. I was probably drinking more alcohol, doing a lot of things to my body that in hindsight caused a lot of probably inflammation and was not conducive to having happy hormones and to eliminating a lot of these like cramping symptoms and stuff like that. But when I went to the doctor and told her some of the things I had been experiencing from a hormonal perspective with the cramping and stuff, she recommended that I either take pain pills, which is like crazy advice, like, oh yeah, just take some pain pills, or to get on birth control. And so I decided to get on birth control because I know a lot of people in my life. I was in college, so like a lot of the girls were on birth control, and I decided that that was what I wanted to do, but with little to no research. Like I just thought, okay, like a lot of my friends are on it. I know people that were on it. It's something that is talked about a lot. Like I didn't even think twice that it would be something that would negatively impact my body. And I definitely think that birth control needs more education around, especially when it comes to prescribing to young girls, that when you're in your fertility prime, giving them a medication that really alters their body is kind of frightening. And I know for a lot of people, it's a life-saving, life-changing medication. And I'm not demonizing it or saying like, don't go on it. I think there's a time and place where like you need it and it's very, very effective. But I think that for the most part, a lot of women are given it without knowing the repercussions and even understanding like what some of the symptoms are. And I remember taking it for a couple months, and looking back, it's 2020, I was experiencing a lot of side effects from this medication. But when I went to my doctor, she basically was like, no, this is very uncommon for you to be experiencing this because of birth control, which now knowing what I know and the research I've done and a lot of things that Big Pharma doesn't want you to know, it was for sure, caused by that. I was feeling super anxious. I was struggling with depression that I'd never struggled with before. I was having really bad, like, breakthrough bleeding. Like, birth control wasn't really working for me that well, like, from that perspective. So I was having my period all the time. It's like really fun stuff. And I definitely like didn't have like a very positive experience in the first like 6 to 12 months of taking it. But then after that, I almost felt like I was in too deep and I'd been taking it for too long. And so after a couple of years, kind of started dabbling with the idea of like, okay, do I want to come off of it? And I will be honest, I struggled with the idea of coming off of it for 3 or 4 years because I was so scared of the repercussions of coming off of it just from what I'd seen on social media and what people talk about. And it was something that really scared me. And like looking back, that fear of the unknown shouldn't have scared me. Like with anything that you're changing in your body, though, you have to know like there might be side effects. Just like going on it, you might experience some side effects. Coming off of it, like you might experience some stuff. And so with especially hormonal changes, like there are a lot of things that can happen with this. But the reason why I don't want to say I was forced to come off of it, but almost forced to come off of it was that I started to experience a lot of side effects in the last year or so. And I will say like after that first year or two, my body honestly felt great. I would kind of on and off experience a little bit of that like mental health issues, and the period started to normalize and stuff. It was great. Like I would have a regular cycle. The breakthrough bleeding would come through at the same time every single month, or not breakthrough, the placebo pills with the withdrawal bleed. So that would come every month. And it was, kind of nice. Like skin was clear. I felt really good up until the last like year or two of taking it. I could just tell that my body was not responding super well to it. I started to experience a lot of negative things, especially when it came to my gut health. And one thing that taking birth control for a prolonged period of time can do is it can cause some intestinal permeability, from what I have researched, which is basically leaky gut. I'm sure like maybe you've heard that term before, but basically what leaky gut is that you're in your intestines, you're supposed to have these tightly bound what's called villi. And when they separate a little bit, this is called leaky gut, and things can basically seep into your bloodstream. And so you can start to experience a lot of symptoms, of course, when it like pertains to digestion, but overall just like brain fog and just not feeling as good. And I definitely started to experience that. Even when I first got on it, like I could definitely tell like I had a little bit more brain fog or whatever, but I kind of gaslit myself into thinking like, I'm fine. It's not that. It's something else. I'm going through something else. And the doctor, of course, is like, yeah, no, that doesn't happen here. Like, you're fine. And looking back, I think it was definitely tied to that. But started to experience this. And then basically in September, I have already talked about this in my gut health episode, so you can definitely fast forward if you're bored of me talking already. But I went to the hospital because I was having such severe stomach pain. My digestion was so messed up. It was really bad. And I decided like something has to change. And so I decided I was going to come off of birth control, also go on this whole gut health journey situation. And I just kept pushing off coming off of it for so long because I was so nervous. But given all of these symptoms that I was experiencing and basically in denial that this was a part of the equation of why I was experiencing these symptoms, but it just kept me pushing off the end date. And so I started working with a functional practitioner, and she basically kind of told me a little bit of some truths that I had to look at myself and pray on it and be like, hey, I am not taking this even for like the purpose of birth control. Like I'm now just taking it for just like, why am I taking it? Like I honestly kind of had this like come to Jesus moment. Like, why am I taking this medication? That like just basically I was taking it because I was scared to come off of it. And that is not a good reason. to take it. So anyways, I was really scared though. I had fears of gaining a ton of weight, having a ton of acne, like losing control of my cycle, having terrible cramps, having terrible bleeding. Like I looked on TikTok, like videos for hours of different experiences of women on the pill and coming off. And it gave me a lot of fear. So if there's one suggestion that I have, like, don't look up those videos. Actually take into account women that have gone through this experience, that have different certifications and have learned a lot. I also did a whole like gut and hormone health course that really helped me out with this journey too, and gave me a lot of insight. And of course, I have a lot of knowledge on hormones and stuff, and just knew what the pill was doing to my body from a wellness and just functional perspective. Also gave me a lot of motivation to come off of it. And again, like I'm not trying to demonize birth control or anything like that, but there is a lot of anecdotal research, and even just from clients I've worked with and stuff too, it's kind of crazy the different changes, of course, that your body goes through when it's in a state of taking hormonal birth control for a long time. And I mean, the mistake that most women make, and this is why I'm making this episode here today, is that they maybe have this idea of wanting to stop birth control and then they just stop cold turkey. And whether that's for kind of a reason like me, like maybe you're kind of experiencing some negative side effects, or you want to have a baby, there are definitely things you can do to prep your body for coming off of the pill, but you don't want to just stop. Like that is the mistake a lot of women make. And when I was watching those videos of women that were having these horror stories, a lot of them were just stopping cold turkey. And of course, like if you've been taking a medication for a long period of time that is basically depleting a lot of essential vitamins and nutrients and is completely changing your hormonal makeup, of course it's going to be a hard transition back to normal. And so we want to do some things to prep your body before coming off. And basically the reason for that is that birth control suppresses your natural hormone production. Your body's going to start to have to make these hormones for themselves. So of course that's going to be a transition. It's going to need time. It's going to need support to be able to regulate again. And some of these symptoms might happen. I like this. This was in my course that I took about hormones and stuff, but I like this analogy of when you are taking birth control, basically you have tape that is over your mouth, like you can't speak. And the second you rip off that tape, and especially if you have not been able to speak for years and years and your body hasn't been able to speak to you for years and years, when you rip off that tape, like you're going to want to say something. You're going to want to scream. You're going to want to just be loud. And so your body might have some symptoms like irregular cycles. You might have breakouts. You might have mood changes. You might have some digestive changes because your body is trying to figure out how to make your hormones again. And I think if we start to like normalize that like, yeah, you might have some of these transitional symptoms. And instead of like being scared of getting off of it because of what could happen, I think also recognizing that that is a beautiful thing as well, that your body is made to do these things and to regulate these hormones. And it's an exciting thing. And so when I came off of it, at least I kind of accepted that I was just going to ride this wave. I was going to do everything in my power to be able to prep my body, to give it the nutrients it needs, to give myself a fighting chance. But also I was going to be a little bit easy on myself and give myself some grace if I did experience a little bit of symptoms, that is something that my body needs to do in order to re-regulate. And it's a beautiful thing to be able to make these hormones and to be a woman and to have a period and to have a cycle and to have all this stuff, and like how exciting that I'm going to be able to experience it. But instead of looking at it from the fear perspective of like, well, what could happen? I want to look at it from I am building back my hormones brick by brick. And even though that's a little bit scary to think about and a reason why a lot of women don't come off of it for years and years and years, it is something that's also very exciting and freeing. And I know that that's something I'm definitely experiencing in real time now. So let's talk about how I prepped my body and the things that I did do to prep my body for coming off of birth control. So number one thing I did was get my gut health right. So I did a full GI map and looked at the state of the union of my gut. And I really firmly believe if I didn't work on my gut before coming off of birth control, I for sure would have experienced more symptoms and probably would not feel as great as I do right now. And so I did a GI map. I found out I had H. pylori, overall gut dysbiosis, leaky gut. So I addressed all of that stuff while coming off of birth control / before. So I did my GI map in September. I came off of birth control in the end of December. So around 4 months, I was able to really get my gut feeling a lot better, start taking some of these supplements to be able to replace some of these nutrients and stuff. But gut health was super important, especially from an inflammation standpoint. I also started focusing on an anti-inflammatory diet, eating a lot of whole foods, supporting digestion, and going to the bathroom every single day. One big mistake that a lot of women make is that they get off of birth control and their digestion is very irregular, especially if you're constipated every single day. You're literally just holding on to a lot of these toxins and also excess estrogen if you are not going to the bathroom every single day. Very important to get those detox pathways flowing, especially before coming off of hormonal birth control. So gut health, I can't even tell you how important that is. There also is estrogen recycling that is done in your gut. And so if that is something that is flagged in a GI map, I've had a couple of clients I've worked with that is a little bit out of whack. That is something you also would want to address before coming off of birth control. The next thing I did was really support my liver. So I really pared back my drinking, especially from September to December. I literally didn't drink at all. And your liver is something that is actually processing those excess hormones. And a lot of people think of your liver and they think of alcohol or just toxins or medication, but your liver is also processing your hormones. And so if your liver is not in a good spot, it's going to be really hard to re-regulate your body and to be able to process those excess hormones. So I made sure to focus on hydration, eating very nutrient dense foods. I was eating a lot of broccoli sprouts and cruciferous vegetables, and also taking a liver support supplement as well. I took that religiously every single day. And I think that was something that really helped too. But supporting your liver is so important when coming off of birth control, especially with just how much your body has to go through with even processing birth control. Your liver definitely will take a hit from that. So definitely want you to support your liver and make sure that you are either taking, not even either, both taking maybe a supplement for supporting your liver like milk thistle, NAC, or doing the process of making sure you're eating whole foods and nutrient density and stuff of all your meals, which of course we can only do so much with eating healthy. I think that in this scenario, potentially supplementing might be a good idea just because of how hard birth control is on your liver and just giving it that extra support there to be able to flush those excess hormones out. The next thing I really focused on was blood sugar regulation. So I was eating very religiously 3 to 5 times per day, having nutrient dense meals balanced with protein, carbs, and fats. This is so important for your hormones, important for your stress levels, for your cortisol. This is very, very underrated. Balancing your blood sugar is so important to make your body feel safe and to be able to properly be able to balance out your hormones. And so blood sugar regulation is going to be key. This is something that I really, really stress. And if you are not currently eating even 3 to 5 meals per day, or you don't eat breakfast, or you're fasting, I would for sure recommend doing blood sugar balancing meals, especially if you are someone that is planning on coming off of birth control or has recently come off of birth control. It's very important to make sure that you are balancing your blood sugar and focusing on that. So protein, carb, fat, fiber at every single meal, mostly whole foods, anti-inflammatory is what I did. I went a little extreme, but that's just kind of me and my personality and also my job and stuff, and kind of being a walking experiment for my clients. But that was something I feel was a really, really big game changer. The next thing I really focused on was stress management, nervous system regulation, sleep, making sure that I have all of those things very dialed in. And my sleep routine has been really, really good. I mean, there's a few nights that maybe I stayed up late, but I've been really trying to honestly get excess sleep, sometimes not setting an alarm. And obviously I have the luxury of being able to do that because I am single and just own my own business, so I can make my own hours. I'm not doing anything crazy, but going to bed early and allowing my body to really sleep and be able to recover is something that I feel has been really beneficial for my hormones. Also, just focusing on walking and lower intensity movements. If you're someone that maybe is doing a lot of cardio or boot camps or running or stuff like that, something I probably would pare back a little bit if you're planning to come off of birth control purely from that like fight or flight standpoint and putting your body into more of a stressed out state than it needs to be, and reducing overtraining in general. I mean, I wasn't someone that was overtraining at all, but I think it's always just a good reminder that we don't need to be training to exhaustion, especially if you're someone that is, like loves working out and stuff. It's great, but definitely when it comes to repairing your hormones and coming off of birth control, you want to make sure that you are slowing down a little bit and allowing your body to process that, because your hormones cannot regulate in a very stressed out state. This also is kind of in the same camp of making sure that you are eating at a caloric maintenance. You don't want to be in a dramatic calorie deficit when you're trying to regulate your hormones. You want to make sure that you are at maintenance in order to regulate your hormones. A lot of women are under eating, and of course that's going to just make it harder for your period to come back and for your hormones to balance post birth control. So making sure that you are eating a normal amount. Most women should be maintaining it around like 1900 just like 2400 calories. So it kind of puts that into perspective, especially if you're someone that has struggled with under eating in the past, or maybe diet culture on and off. For sure, focusing on your caloric intake, doing a reverse diet. This will be something that's so important for you. But a lot of women, they just like quit birth control cold turkey, and they're under eating, they're overtraining. And that, of course, creates a recipe for hormonal chaos in your body and something that you don't want to experience. But those are the main things I did. I think that gut health helped me a ton. Stress management and just really focusing and dialing that in, eating anti-inflammatory, mostly whole foods. And then supplementation is the last thing. But I think a lot of people, they put supplementation ahead of the basics. I think that if there's anything you're going to do, it's those basics that I just mentioned. If you're not doing those things and you throw supplements on top of it, you're just flushing money down the drain. So specific supplements I took, I'm not going to recommend just as a blanket statement, because my supplements I took were purely based off of my blood work, but I was missing nutrient deficiencies. But one thing that I do kind of in general recommend to people that are coming off of birth control is a good prenatal vitamin. And you may think, well, I don't want to get pregnant. Like, I don't want to take a prenatal. Prenatal is whether you're coming off of birth control or you're planning on staying on birth control, are really, really, really helpful for women that are either on the pill or coming off the pill, because it replaces a lot of the nutrients that your body depletes when you do take birth control. So birth control will deplete a lot of essential vitamins and nutrients. So we want to make sure that we are taking a good quality prenatal in order to replace some of those. I, for a long time, took Ritual prenatal. I am taking one right now called Mitocore. So I recommend definitely taking a prenatal if that is something that you are not currently taking. But a lot of women, they're not replacing those vitamins and stuff. So that's also why they're maybe experiencing some extra symptoms like hair loss and stuff, is because your body doesn't have those nutrients in there. And so it's important to make sure that we're supplementing with that. I am also taking kind of like a blend of different things right now to like regulate my cycle and get my period back and stuff. So I'm taking one called pregnancy prep, which it sounds kind of like scary to be taking something called pregnancy prep when you don't want that, but has been really great. It has kind of a blend of different things like maca and ashwagandha and a lot of different things to reduce my stress, but also get my cycle back, as well as inositol. That's one thing I'm taking right now too. A lot of people do take Vitex when they are coming off the pill. That is something that has chasteberry in it, so can help to increase your progesterone, which is good, and helps obviously with you getting a regular cycle. So a lot of these things, though, I will say, like, test, don't guess. Don't just like start taking supplements, because you can start taking supplements that you think are good or someone on TikTok said are good, but they actually could have negative side effects for you or make it even harder to rebalance your hormones. With supplements, of course, with medications and hormones, like, you want to make sure you're taking guidance from the right people, and you want to make sure you're doing it based off of data, not just because someone took it and it helped them. But again, I'm taking specific ones for my cycle. I think the gut health stuff was so vital to my journey. Another thing that I for sure recommend you read is the book Beyond the Pill by Jolene Brighten. It is so great. I will say the first like couple chapters or so, if you're currently on the pill and you're trying to decide if you're coming off, like, she says, some data, some statistics that are a little bit frightening. I remember reading this and being like, oh my gosh. But it is a very eye-opening book, and something that I definitely recommend will help you to learn a lot about your cycle and like why women have cycles and how their hormones work and what the length of the cycle is and how to know if symptoms are normal versus not, how to prep your body. And so that's where I'm getting a lot of this information off of too. I've done so much research on this subject for not only the purpose of me coming off, but also being able to give advice to clients and be able to understand people's struggles. And I know that I'm just kind of freshly off of it, but it was something that I really contemplated and thought hard about for like 3-4 years. And so it's something that I have done so much research on, but I really, really loved the book Beyond the Pill. I for sure recommend that. And they even have like a plan to like come off and give your body like the most nutrients and stuff in that book too. But kind of overall, of course, in this book kind of just gave general advice, but I definitely recommend. She is very smart and that book is like phenomenal. So definitely recommend listening or reading that. So let's talk about like what happened when I came off, because this is like the scariest part. And I thought that like my body would just go haywire or it'd feel completely different, because I feel like one thing a lot of people on TikTok and social media talk about is like, I felt completely different, or like I felt maybe not good, or I felt so good. And I'll just say like the first month or so coming off, I really like didn't feel like a ton different. Maybe it was placebo, and maybe that is like the case for other people, is like they feel different, but in reality they like are just it's kind of like placebo effect. But for me, like I think things went really well because of all the prep I did for this, taking the prenatal vitamins, taking the different supplements and stuff. And the main thing that I struggled with was getting my period back, that first period. If you've been a regular podcast listener, you know, like last week I was like getting my period that day, which is phenomenal. But I definitely took some time for my body to get it back, which is normal, especially post birth control. Like some people don't get it back for 3-6 months. Mine took a good 3 months for it to come back. But I was really frightened that the first one coming back was going to just be absolutely miserable or whatever. So did take a good amount of time, even with the supplements, even with all the prep. But that is okay. But that's honestly what surprised me most. I was totally convinced I was going to get it back like immediately. And some women's bodies, like it just takes a little bit more time, especially if you've been on it for a while. And so that's one thing that I was a little bit surprised about, that it took a little bit of extra time to come back. But I mean, other than that, everything has been feeling really good. Like my skin's been good. I had a little bit of cramping that first cycle, which I mean, I hadn't had a period in forever. So like, of course, my body was going to have a little bit of cramping, I think. And what else? The only thing I would say was a little bit hard for me was body image, especially when I didn't get my period for 3 months after taking my last birth control pill, because I just was kind of in this state of just like perpetually feeling a little bit bloated and puffy, because my body was really trying to ovulate and it was trying to make these hormones, and it was just extra stress on my body at the end of the day. And so that is something that was a little bit hard for me mentally. But again, going back to when I started this whole process, I made a deal with myself that I was going to give myself grace. I was not going to be mad at myself for my body just trying to literally do the process it was made to do. And so I just decided to give myself some grace with that. It was fine. Honestly, I will say immediately though, after ovulating, I completely like lost 4 pounds of water weight, feel so good. And I think it's just going to continue to feel better and better as my cycle does regulate. And so I'm going to be staying up on all of my supplements. I'm going to be staying up on my gut health. I'm going to be staying up on all the things that I know have been really great for my body, and making sure that I am supporting my body in all the ways that I have done, and not letting up on the habits that I have created throughout this process to get it back. But other positive things I've noticed is my sleep has been so good. Like my Oura ring, my sleep has been phenomenal. My stress levels have lowered a lot, which is really good. It just, I do feel a lot better. I feel a lot more mentally clear. I feel like my mood's been a lot better. I will say, like, I think that it has really changed, more positives than negatives for sure. Even just like hunger, cravings, satiety. One thing I noticed when I got on the pill 7 years ago was like I was kind of hungry all the time. And I thought that maybe it was just because I was like working out more or whatever. And since stopping it, like literally I'm like normally, like I'm hungry at like a normal rate now, and my blood sugar feels a lot better. So again, could be somewhat placebo, but I think that just given the data and given what I've learned and what I've done to support my body, I think I've really like helped to set it up for success, which is really good. So let's talk about maybe like what I would do differently, because I think we can all look back in hindsight and reflect on what maybe went well or what could have gone better. And so honestly, what I could have done differently is get off sooner, not be so scared. I literally lived in fear of this, and I don't know why. I needed to trust my body, trust the process. I never felt like it was the right time. And so I should have listened to my symptoms sooner and actually taken authority of those and not just brush them off as, oh, I'm just experiencing maybe being a little bit sick, or my mental health is because of something else. I think I put a lot of grace on the pill where I should have just trusted myself that like something was up and my body was reacting to this, and listened to my symptoms sooner and earlier and gotten help sooner and earlier. No one I've ever talked to has been like, yeah, like I wish I would have gotten help later. No, you want to get help sooner. And so that's something as well, like I wish I would have done, is just, I'm so happy I got the accountability for myself, because I knew with coming off of it, if I didn't have someone to push me to be like, hey, like it's gonna be okay, we're going to do this together. Just like with my fitness clients, like they feel the same way with me. Like having that someone to push you in the right direction, not even push you, but give you a little bit of encouragement and just a little bit more of that mental clarity that you are on the right path, you are on the right direction, is just so helpful. And so, especially if you're someone that doesn't even know where to start, or like, what do I need to take? How should I do? Like doing too much, doing too little. It can be very easy to kind of go into that kind of spiral too, of like just not knowing what to do and then doing everything or not doing enough. And so I think that at the end of the day, just remind yourself that like your body isn't broken, it's adapting. Getting help is so important. And it's not some like magical thing that you're going to like get off of birth control and lose 30 pounds. I mean, some people do. I would say that's more so due to maybe other things. But I think doing it from the long-term perspective, if it's something that, of course, like you want to do, or if it's something you've been thinking about, I would just wish I wouldn't have been so scared. Like my body is made for this. Prepping and doing the things that you know are going to help it and help give it a fighting chance. I just wish I would have trusted myself a little bit more and gotten help earlier. I think that's my main, like what I would have done differently. Probably talk to me in the next 4 or 6 months and I'll have a completely different list. But for now, that is what I would do differently. So some just like little practical takeaways. So if you're thinking about coming off of birth control, number one, I wouldn't rush it. This is going to be something that is a trust the process moment. I wouldn't try to like come off of birth control and lose weight at the same time and get your gut in line and do all these things. Like I would take it piece by piece. I'm happy that I did the gut stuff, then did the coming off of birth control. Like I'm happy that I took the time to do that. Because if you rush things, like with anything with your body, if you've ever tried to lose weight or gain muscle, like it takes time to re-regulate. And I think a lot of people forget that, especially when you have been taking this pill for a long time. And so I would start by supporting your body 1 to 3 months before. I mean, I would say more so like 3 months of taking maybe a prenatal vitamin, working on your nervous system, maybe getting some help for your gut health, doing a GI map, focusing on protein intake, blood sugar management, sleep. All of these compounding things are going to help your body, give it that support to be able to regulate its hormones when you come off of it. But expect an adjustment period. Like your body is not going to just completely go back to normal. Like it's going to have to start to produce hormones and start to get back to normalcy. And it's going to take some time to get there. So that is kind of like my whole podcast episode on coming off of birth control. And just again, like this is just a video diary for me of what I had done to prep my body. But overall, I'm happy about my decision. I'm happy about everything I've kind of done over the past 6 to 8 months or so to put my body into a good position here. But my DMs are always open as well if you do have more questions, or if you're someone that's maybe contemplating it or just want to know a little bit more. So feel free to reach out to me. But I hope you all enjoyed this episode. Make sure to rate, review, subscribe, do all the things, and I will chat with you all next week. Bye.